If your calves are always tight, no matter how hard you stretch, they're probably working really hard to stop you from falling on your face. Forget about tight muscles being the problem. That's a symptom. The actual problem is posture and where you habitually hold your center of mass. This is the invisible balancing point where all movement starts and ends. This is going to be detailed. I'll break it down as clearly as I can. This is why I think you have tight calves. Most people think a muscle becomes tight because it's working too hard, and that is absolutely true, but your idea of working really hard might be a heavy set of calf raises or a long, steep hike, but your body might see hard work very differently, because whilst you're going about your day with your attention on other things, your muscles are constantly working throughout the day to keep you balanced and to keep you upright. Think of your center of mass as a bowling ball that's sitting just above your pelvis around your abdomen. If it rolls forward even half an inch, then the muscles on the back side of your body are going to have to put on the brakes and create tension to stop you from falling forward. Now, this is your body's idea of hard work, because every second that you're on your feet walking around, they have this job to do. And if you want to understand how this works in practice, stand up. Keep your body in a straight line like a plank and lean forward from the ankles. Don't bend at the hips or the spine. Just lean in this kind of Michael Jackson smooth criminal way where you're only flexing at the ankles. Now pay attention to what you feel as you feel your weight shifting forward. Imagine your center of mass like this green target. If that target moves forward, the muscles at the backside need to tighten to pull the center of mass back. If the target moves backwards, the muscles at the front of the body need to tighten to pull the center of mass forward. And if this target moves outside of your base of support, which is your feet, then you'll lose your balance, hopefully self-correct, and you'll do that by moving a foot a little bit wider, and that in turn widens your base of support, giving you a more stable structure, and it automatically brings your center of mass back inside that kind of safety area of your base of support. So likely what you'll feel is you're in this position and you're shifting your center of mass forward. You might feel that your toes grip the ground, you'll feel some tension in the foot, and your calves are going to be lengthened and under load. And in fact, you could feel not just the calves, but the entire posterior chain of muscles trying to pull you back. Everything from the bottom of your feet all the way up to your spine and maybe even your neck. You might also feel just generally pretty uncomfortable here because you feel like you're about to fall over. And you can think about that like your nervous system is predicting a fall, so it's kind of trying to protect you and hold everything together. So if you habitually hold your center of mass a little bit slightly forward all of the time, of course that's going to create a feeling of chronic calf tightness. But it's also likely to coincide with other issues like back tightness, neck tightness, or even foot pain, since the majority of your weight is kind of shifted forward on your toes. We have this phrase in English which is like, you've got to be on your toes. And essentially what that's referring to is being ready, being prepared to be on alert to move at any time. And that wraps up exactly what we're talking about here. It's 2025. Most of us are in pretty chronic high stress states. Constant stimulation, division, diversion tactics, all from the wider social environment. And we as humans always want to be moving forward. And that also shows up in our body, in our posture. And here's the real messed up part. You're going to want to stick around and hear this because it's kind of just cruel how the human body works. Let's say you have this problem and you get someone with a trained eye who understands the center of mass. They look at your posture and they find that, yeah, you are habitually shifted forward. Our natural response to that is going to be to stretch out the tightness. And this is where typical body intuition advice tends to go wrong. Listen to your body, give it what it needs. In this case, that kind of advice just falls by the wayside and breaks down here. The calves are probably so long as they can possibly get. And this is known as muscles that are locked long. They are locked in a lengthened position. Stretching is going to be, in the best of cases, a waste of time. And in the worst of cases, it's going to kick off a chain of events that disrupts the whole kinetic chain and could cause other problems in the knee, the spine, the back, the neck, the shoulder, pretty much anywhere. And I find that just a cruel mechanism. I don't know whether it's a social thing or whether it's something that has just come about from lots of information about stretching. But it seems like most people just have this tendency to want to go straight into stretching whenever they feel anything slightly tight. And because there's so much research on why stretching is so good for us, we've been conditioned to think that a tight muscle just needs to be stretched more. And I think this over-exaggeration of the benefits of stretching might be playing into this to some extent. And to be clear, I'm not saying don't stretch. What I'm saying is don't mindlessly stretch without at least having a vague idea of why the muscle is tight. And often it's got a lot to do with the center of mass and the base of support. So you can be tight from a workout the day before and stretch and loosen up and limber up. That's absolutely fine. But stretching to correct muscle imbalances or to get out of pain is absolutely a trap. After dealing with this myself personally and working for 13 years with people and helping them see long-term sustainable positive changes, it would be very difficult at this point to convince me otherwise. I've shared what I considered at the time to be good information, and I've now since removed a couple of videos from my channel because I'm thankful to say now that I know better. All this is to say that the fact that our typical modern day intuition now is to stretch, it feels like a glitch in the system, because what we really need to do is the exact opposite. If we're going to address this problem, then we have to look at the root cause and 3 things you need to do instead in order to feel better. And the first of those is the simplest, and that is to resist the urge to stretch. This can be tough when you're in the habitual pattern of responding to tightness with stretching. And for me, it took quite a while, but eventually I was able to let go of it as I learned more and more about how the body works. When you get a better understanding of why a muscle is tight, stretching won't be the logical response to that stimulus, which is why sitting down and watching a video like you are now is likely a much more effective use of your time than simply stretching your calves, because as I've said, this is not just a muscular, skeletal or mechanical problem. Your central nervous system, including your brain and your spinal cord and the mechanoreceptors in your feet, they are also playing a large part in the tightness in your calves. So resist the urge to stretch and remember to ask this question before you stretch it. What might be the underlying reason for the calves to be tight? And this goes for any muscle in the body, not just the calves. So that brings us to step 2, and you're probably going to want to have another exercise which you can replace, which will not only help you feel like you're making progress, but also at least have some of the musculoskeletal part covered. There is a lot of pieces of the puzzle here that need to be considered, such as the shape of your individual foot, how it interacts with the ground, as well as the windlass mechanism, which provides the foot a sense of bounce and helps it act like a spring. But if I had to pick one simple exercise that would make the most important impact for the most people, then it would probably be this, the calf bridge. I use this heavily in my program, particularly with beginners, and the idea is the exact opposite of stretching. Instead, we're going to shorten the calf, strengthen it, and learn to relax. Relaxing is probably the most important part. We will cover that later in step 3, but for now, here's what you're going to do. Lay on the ground with your feet on the floor, with your knees in this bent knee position. Peel your tailbone up off the floor just slightly, and keep your hips as low to the ground as you can. About a finger's width distance off the floor is a good spot. Then shorten the calf, squeeze the Achilles, and lift your heels off the floor. Keep your hips as low as you can and get your heels as high as you can. This is an isometric hold. We're strengthening the tissue in the shortest position and simultaneously learning how to create pressure in the front of the foot. I typically get people to hold this for 20 to 45 seconds, and as soon as they can do this genuinely without the heel tilting in or anything funky and weird happening with the toes, like with the toes gripping, I'll tend to move them on to the progression, which is the most obvious thing, doing it in a single leg version. But the key here, and this is going to be the kicker, is the hardest part is just to relax and let go. And that is the fundamental thing that I help people with in my training, to apply breathing techniques and to soften and relax the body. So in between your sets, you're going to shake out and relax that muscle. But if a muscle has been chronically tight for a long period of time, then it's going to take some time to reverse that pattern and to see some more permanent changes. And I think without getting this part right, feeling more balanced and supple in your body is just not going to happen. As you move, your center of mass is going to be making a journey either from one foot to the other or through the foot if you're coming onto one leg. And instead of chasing reps and blasting through exercises to get to the end of the set, instead slow down and feel what is happening in these subtle weight shifts as you move. So if you want to practice this, you can apply it to whatever it is you currently do. When you perform other movements on your feet, whether it be hinges, step downs, squat variations, isometrics, complex lunge variations, whatever you do, just pay attention to a couple of things. Number one, feel your feet on the ground. Your foot is going to be forming a tripod with 3 points of contact. Tune into that. And second, as you move around from one position to another, wherever you're moving, feel your center of mass shifting around. Subtle positioning shifts in your body that you can make with either your feet, knees, hips, rib cage, head, or otherwise are going to enable you to switch that tension off and find a more balanced, stacked, relaxed position where the load of your body is equally distributed on the skeleton, allowing the muscles to relax. In Eastern traditions, this is much better understood, and it forms the basis of at least the physical practice of yoga, and it's a fundamental principle in the slow martial arts like Tai Chi and Qigong. And whilst they might not talk directly about center of mass and base of support, that ideation is built into the whole philosophy of their movement. But as we tend to do in the West, we take all of the surface level of the Eastern practices, only ever applying the physical stuff, whilst ignoring what I think is the much more important underlying principles that include the real subtlety and nuance. And that is what I think actually moves the needle and progresses people forward. So this concept of center of mass and base of support literally changed my career. It changed my whole body because it's not just about fighting the tightness anymore. It's about understanding it, working with it, and doing a little bit of education so you understand the mechanisms that are causing tension, stiffness, pain, whatever it is. I work with hikers in particular, usually solving problems like foot pain, knee pain, hip pain, back pain. And I've created a free school where you can go in and start learning at a deeper level some of the concepts that I've talked about here. If you want to join that, there's a video here that'll take you through in 3 minutes how to join. That's all for this one. I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll see you on the summit.